all kind of came about sort of mysteriously, I guess, right, on this Twitter page. We didn't know whether it was Steve Ballmer's Twitter page or not, but basically complimenting Twitter and disclosing that he had a 4% stake.
Big investment, although from such a wealthy guy, maybe not. It's not quite like him buying the Clippers, but yeah, Steve Ballmer reporting he's got a 4% stake in Twitter. Twitter's, a very interesting company. I think it gets a lot of discussion for a lot of reasons, and it did seem that the company put out all the possible bad news it could before this most recent announcement that Jack Dorsey was going to stay as CEO, before the Square IPO filing became public this week. Maybe wanting to get every piece of bad news out, and the question is, has it really bottomed here? The user growth statistics for Twitter are greatly disconcerting, both in the U.S. and internationally, where the business is hardly growing in terms of adding users. And so one might expect the conversation to change from adding users to perhaps adding the value of those users, or talking about total audience value as opposed to people who are on the service tweeting. But some bottom fishing is happening here, perhaps.
But it's a good vote of confidence, right, to have Ballmer on board?
Steve Ballmer's success at consumer-facing technologies is worse than mixed, shall we say. Microsoft, under his leadership, wants so many crummy consumer-facing products that maybe he's not the best guy to endorse another consumer-facing product, but he certainly has made a lot of money as CEO of Microsoft, some of that now being put into Twitter as an investment.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, does this at least set the company further ahead, though, because they have some now very big investors, right? Steve Ballmer, the Prince, right? Ali bin Talal. Does it set them further ahead?
I don't know if this is an endorsement of the technology rather than a financial investment. I don't even know how much Steve Ballmer was involved in making the investment decision, right? This could have been his fund that decides how to put his money to work.
Right. That's true. Okay, so staying on Twitter once more, you mentioned, which I think is a good point, they've kind of gotten the bad news out of the way, the Square IPO, now that's happening. So next week or in the coming weeks, Corey, they got to start showing what the product is, or what?
So the Square IPO is really interesting. Actually, I was going through the filing late last night, and it's a very interesting business. It's very interesting that it's dropped on the same day as the First Data IPO, which is now trading down 2 consecutive days, broke its deal price. A broken IPO, not a good thing for the bankers behind the deal, unable to support the thing. But they were so desperate to get it out, they lowered the price on the same day that the Square IPO filing comes out, and shows the big changes going on in the credit card payment processing business. But Square, coming in at much lower prices for merchants, but also losing money on every transaction. So a big money-losing business. It was also interesting to see how that looks like the deal that they had with Starbucks was a really bad one for Square. They're getting out of that, but they lost a lot of money on that deal over the time that they had it. Now, maybe let them run their system. They lost money on every sale, but they made up for it in volume. Well, you could see that in the Starbucks deal that they're trying to get out of. But that business going through tremendous transition as they go into this IPO, and as the CEO is only there part-time.